yeah, it's that time of year, Christmas, New Year's, and most importantly, the beginning of a new racing season. Welcome to your Monster Energy Racer X preview shows for 2024. It's the Super Motocross World Championship, but we're going to be focusing on the 17 rounds of the traditional Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship here. Welcome to the show. Jason Weigandt, Jason Thomas, and Steve Matthes here at the palatial, high-ceilinged Pulp MX estate to shoot these shows. We'll have Kris Keefer joining us as well. I want to get into 2024, but I cannot do that, Steven. I cannot do that yet because we have an issue to address dating back to our 2023 shows. The floor is yours. Is there anything you would like to say looking back on last year's shows?
Well, first of all, I think for only the second time in the history of doing these shows, I called the champion correct. Now, did I know this gentleman would win the title after, an injury, the second last round?
Two injuries, really, Webb and Tomac.
Yeah,
yep.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
But I knew my guy could do it. The biggest part, though, is, and I said this last year, and it was sort of a joke throughout the year, even Chase Sexton himself mentioned it numerous times. We did these shows last year. You put Chase Sexton in show 2. And I was like, nope, he should be in show 1. He's going to be a title favorite or win a lot of these races, and nope, some sort of Chase Sexton bias or hatred, I don't know, but you refused to do that. You put him in show 2, and I like to think you took the brunt all year long of your decision, and I hope you've reconsidered and done it right this year.
Well, yeah, I had a long time to think about this, a lot of data, even talked to Chase and his agent and his team at the championship party. We put it up for consideration. Should Chase Sexton, as the actual AMA Supercross champion, be in show 1? So I want to reveal now, for the first time around the world, we're going to start show 1 of 5. We have 5 shows, 4 450 shows, and 1 250 show. Hold on to the end before Hayden Deegan, okay, everybody? Sorry, Hayden Deegan will not be mentioned after this in show 1. We are going to talk about Chase Sexton in show 1 this year.
Good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trying to right a wrong.
I would not say it was unanimous. Some of the committee didn't feel that winning the title was enough.
Right.
So I'm Jason Weigandt. I've spent 20 years covering these races as a journalist and a broadcaster. Jason Thomas, I always get it wrong how many years you race, so just help me out there.
15, 16,
15,
something like that.
I see, it's not specific. Now part of our broadcast crew as well, and with Fly Racing. And Matthes, you're an internet rabble-rouser, but formerly a factory mechanic.
I was a top mechanic in the sport for many years. Absolutely.
Top mechanic in the sport.
Absolutely.
And thank you to our sponsors, Monster Energy, Fly Racing, Matthes, and Maxima. Let's talk about Chase Sexton, because not only is he the defending champion, but he's switched teams. But the odd thing was, you might on the outside say, wow, that's wild, he'd win the title and leave. Let's be honest. We kind of knew he was leaving. Before the title was done, he was leaving, JT. We knew this.
Why? The first time I heard about it was the summer of 2022 that he was looking to make a change. So that's a really long time to go until you actually announce a change in October, November of 2023. So, yes, we all kind of knew this was happening. We didn't really know what that was going to look like. We still don't know what that's going to look like, but we have seen some video of him riding now. Seems like they're still working through some chassis things, but I think it was the right thing for him mentally. I think he just needed a change. I don't think necessarily the equipment is the change. I don't, everybody's going to have their own opinion of that. I think Jett Lawrence would tell you that Honda's just fine, but I think for him and his headspace and to be in a better place going into 2024, this needed to happen.
Okay, so yeah, it's a big deal. Look, Sexton did win the title last year. He crashed probably more than he wanted to. So I think, Steve, the big question that everyone's going to ask, and I don't know if this is even why he switched, but on the outside, people are going to say, does the KTM stop the crashing? Do you think it was even to do with that, and do you think it's even going to make a difference with that?
Well, look, as a guy that worked for teams as a mechanic, and anybody who's listened to our review shows over the years knows that I'm team bike and team.
Like, the bike is always fine. It's on the athlete.
Yes, it's on the riders, right?
Yes.
And so do I believe that the Honda threw him to the ground? No, I think any bike could throw him to the ground. I think he pushed so hard on his front wheel, his front suspension, that he couldn't handle the traction anymore. And any bike's going to do that. And it wasn't a Honda issue. So I'm not of that belief. I just think, hey, look, he looked around. He saw the Lawrences everywhere. Dazzy, Hunter, Jett, agent, friends, wives, girlfriends, and was like, I want to be the guy. And I may not be the guy here. And I think that was a big reason why he left Honda. And was he totally happy with the bike? No, but I don't know if he's going to be totally happy with the new Orange Steed either. You know what I mean? So I think it's only the 5th time in Supercross history that the defending champion has switched to a new team, so it certainly doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
So we're going to be able to watch that. It's going to be a very interesting season. And to me, Chase Sexton, I have questions about everybody, less so about Jett Lawrence. But my biggest question is Chase Sexton, for sure.
Well, I have a question.
Wow.
I have a question for you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're saying he's looking around and wanted to be the guy. If we were hearing these rumors in the summer of 2022, surely Honda brass was hearing about this. Team personnel was hearing about this. They're much closer to it than we are. Did that become a self-fulfilling prophecy where he was no longer the guy because they were expecting him to leave, right? So you could turn it around, and if you're Honda and say, well, yeah, what did you think we're going to do? We have to plan for the future. If we're thinking you're going to leave for 2024, we have to make plans accordingly for that. So I think both of them probably have a case to be made. I think Honda's just fine with the duo of Hunter and Jett Lawrence moving forward. But at the same time, I don't think that Chase could just point at them and say, you guys bailed on me when it's been going on for over a year, this chatter. And who knows when Honda first heard about this.
Yeah, they tried to keep him. Honda tried to keep him.
Absolutely.
They were more than happy to bring back the exact
Yes.
same team.
Yes.
So
I don't know
they
if
were
it was
happy.
a thing that Honda did to make him not feel welcome. I think anyone could see the writing on the wall that eventually both Lawrence brothers are going to be 450 riders on this team, and what will that feel like?
Even in early 2022? Because that's when I think the talk started. You could see it happening even that early?
But even in July, August of 22, did you not see that eventually this is going to be
Okay,
Jett
July,
Lawrence?
August. I'm saying,
Yeah.
but talks, I think, started earlier than that.
We could go back to 2021 and say Jett Lawrence is going to be in that spot eventually. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's
But
anything Honda did saying we favor Jett over you. I think it's just we know that Jett was going to cast a big shadow, the same way James Stewart or Travis Pastrana or Ricky Carmichael or anyone with that kind of hype. It's going to be a big shadow.
Okay, I'll pose this. Summer of 2022, Chase Sexton and Eli Tomac are having a battle for the ages.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like Chase Sexton was Honda's guy then? Like, to me, I was like, he's Honda's guy. Like, yes, Jett's coming. We all know Jett's going to be great. But, like, how could anyone look at that situation and say that Honda wasn't all in on Chase at that time? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there were things going on behind the scenes that I'll never know. But it certainly seemed like Honda had Chase's back throughout that championship run, which he came up short. We got it. But
I don't feel like Chase even said it felt like Honda didn't want me here. I don't think he was articulating that.
Yeah.
I think it's just, is there enough room in this town for both people?
The days of Hannah and Bailey being teammates and Reed and Villeman and Ferry, those days are gone, man.
And how did that go, by the way?
Well, yeah,
what
exactly.
What
there
if
was some
Webb
tension
stayed?
behind
What if
the
Webb
scenes.
had stayed?
I think Webb's a different animal. I think Webb would have been okay. Just like we'll get to Webb now in show 2.
No, but I'm saying for Chase. What if Webb had stayed? Is he the guy with a 2-time KTM champion in the stable?
I don't think the Cooper Webb shadow, or if you want to call it, is the same as the Jett Lawrence one.
Okay.
I don't. It's yes, they're both capable of winning. Yep. I think Jett Lawrence is just a bigger piece.
Now he is, for sure. I agree now. But that, you know,
okay, maybe
this
maybe
was a long
22,
time ago.
Maybe 22, a little different. So we don't even know necessarily if it's a bike thing. And you used to say last year, Chase is unbelievably fast. Like, I just want to say, was he the fastest guy last year?
Yes.
There was no doubt about that.
No.
He's the fastest guy. It was the crashes. If he didn't have those crashes, he would have won the title, I believe, over Tomac, regardless. You said a lot of it is the trust he had in that front end, or maybe shouldn't have had, but that was where a lot of those crashes came in.
Well, and talk to other riders, and they're kind of trying to diagnose what's going on. It just seemed like he would be in the moment, in the zone, so they say, he's winning races, and it's instinctual, right? I also would defend Chase a little bit and say it's really hard to be pushing that edge and going for a win and also be like, well, better be really careful at the front end because I don't know what it's going to do. But I also understand when other, guys like Ricky Carmichael have said, okay, this is what I would be thinking in that scenario. If I know that this motorcycle has a tendency to do X, then I need to be always thinking about that tendency to do X. And it didn't seem like Chase was ready for it. Every time he got caught out, it looked like he got surprised. And Ricky would kind of push back and say, well, you can't be surprised if you know that it's going to happen over and over. So it's a really tough thing. And in the end, that's why I kind of started off by saying, I think this needed to happen for Chase's own just mental clarity and be able to kind of turn the page and start over.
And to make it a little more confusing now, he did say that he actually, credit to Chase Sexton, he actually admitted that he rode the bike before he signed. Good on him, because we know they do.
Yeah.
They all lie. But this is not necessarily the same bike that he's going to be racing, because KTM has already introduced what really will probably be the 2025 bike early as the 2024 factory edition. So there are 2 frames, 24 and 25, that the riders can pick from.
Yep.
So that makes this whole situation even more confusing. So let's get a little clarity on that. This is a new segment of the show. We're going to get monster information, courtesy of Monster Energy, our own bike testing guru, the man who actually works for manufacturers testing bikes, Kris Keefer, break down what you see here with this switch and some changes to the KTM bike and adding Chase Sexton.
Thanks, Weech. How you guys doing out there? Need to get a quick drink. Uno momento. Unlike these factory riders that these guys are talking about right now, I'm actually going to pop this thing, and it's real. It has taurine in it. It has some sugar in it. But you know what? We need to get this thing kicked off. Hold on one second. All right, let's break this down for you. All right, KTM has a new frame for us normal folk out there, right? So what does that mean for the big number 1 and the number 7? This is going to be the storyline for a while. We're going to follow all of these media outlets out there. They're going to be scouring the pits, and they're going to be trying to dive in on what Chase Sexton, Aaron Plessinger, what are they riding? What do they have? We're going to have all of these factory bike breakdowns, but I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to give you some insight on what it's like before this frame comes to market. So, you guys heard Cooper Webb. I want a softer feel last year. I want 48mm forks. Well, you know what? He didn't quite get what he wanted, but now 2024 enters. Chase Sexton says, hey, I want to try the new frame. This just happened maybe 3 to 4 weeks ago. So you guys might think, hey, he's been on this new chassis for a long time. He has not. He asked the team, hey, can I get on this new frame? I would like to see what it does. They actually had the parts for the new frame to put on. And actually, Chase and Aaron both said, wow, what a difference. This is huge for me. I have more feeling. There's a little bit more comfort there. And that is what these guys are starting out on at A1. So you will see the number 1 and number 7 on the factory edition frame, which you and I will be able to purchase sometime in February, March. Obviously, these guys might change some things up. We know the first rounds are in the West Coast, little hard pack track, so they're looking for more feel. But what exactly does that mean for us watching these Supercrosses when these riders say, I would like my frame or my chassis to be a little bit stiffer, or I need to be more compliant? So when you watch these guys on Saturday night, you will see big transitions from their jumping in, their quadding, triple, quad, double in. There's pockets where we can't see watching on TV. There's ruts. There's heavy loads on these chassis. These frames need to be stiff enough so they don't wallow and pivot when they get in these pockets. I talked to one rider earlier. He says this is what he likes. He likes a stiffer feel in those transitions, so when they go to jump these big rhythms, it doesn't have this hunt and peck, what I like to call. So when you load your suspension in, it'll want to wallow and then hook you right or hook you left. That's what these riders do not want. They look for consistency, so you need some stiffness in your frame to have that. Last year, riders were complaining, KTM riders, maybe Cooper Webb, were complaining about, hey, my frame is too stiff. Why? Have you seen the main event after 20 minutes? Holy crap, it is rough, it is chewed up. They need more compliance. They need to have a softer feel, and sometimes you just can't get that with suspension. So, enter 2024. KTM is a new frame. We have the big number 1 on the KTM now. We haven't seen that since 2009, Chad Reed. So it's going to be a storyline for a while to see how this bike, how this new frame breaks down and stacks up against the Husqvarna guys, which you will see will be on older frames. So this is going to be a whole thing for a few rounds to see where it all shakes down.
Look, it pains me to say this, but Keefer really knows what he's talking about. I've seen this, and he's a smart guy with this stuff. So I think you listeners and viewers should really listen to him when it comes to this bike changes.
I've never heard you compliment someone, like ever. Like that was
It's a new.
You don't do that for JT.
It's a new year.
You do not do that for JT.
Look, I
just want to say, Keefer mentioned something. You said it too. And he said, we haven't seen this since Chad Reed. Not switching to KTM, a champion bringing a #1 plate over. So that's what we're talking about there.
Look,
so that's interesting.
We're going to give our championship picks later on in show 4 for championship picks. So I'm not going to reveal mine right now. But, yeah, I have some questions about Chase. I talked to somebody deep inside the Austrian camp just the last week or two.
3 deeps.
Yeah, 3 deeps.
Wow. That's deep.
And, like, they were like, hey, Chase is fast. but he's still struggling a bit with the bike and the whoops. He doesn't look great in the whoops. And, you know, we know they're going back to the smaller 2 forks up front. They're trying to get some of that stiffness away from the chassis, stuff that Keefer just said. So, like, we always hear everyone's flying, everyone's amazing, while this person, deep, was like, still not there. Like, close, good, fast, still got some work to do.
Well, speaking of the honesty of Sexton admitting he rode the bike, also honest. So, JT, you and I got to talk to him at some meetings at Angel Stadium a couple weeks ago that Steve was not invited to. Only the highest level security clearance.
That's probably why we got the best info there.
Yes. You're not trustworthy, so they brought us into the room. We're trying to decode. He didn't say that he was 4 seconds a lap faster. He didn't say the bike is the magic cure for everything. Is that just being honest? Every rider can pick something where they want the bike to be better, or is it the vibe? But maybe he's just being honest and saying, sure, it's good, but we're working on stuff.
What's funny, normally I would make fun of riders coming in and saying that their whole world is better.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be a totally different guy. I'm going so much faster. We've heard that 3 or 4 seconds.
And we will have many of those riders we will talk about on this show. Yes.
And you just roll your eyes.
Yes.
But in this scenario, I'm a little worried because I didn't get a lot of enthusiastic, like everything's kind of fixed, like we're in a good place. It was more of, yeah, things are going pretty well. We're figuring things out. Like he didn't sell me very hard. And maybe I should be thankful. Maybe, like you said, it was more of a realistic, honest take on it. But I wanted to be sold. I wanted to leave there convinced so I could go into A1 thinking, okay, this is going to be, it's hard to say a different Chase Sexton because he was your Monster Energy Supercross champion, but a happier, more content Chase Sexton, because when I watched him and got to speak with him last summer, especially late, he didn't seem happy or content. And I think he's in a better place than that, but I just wanted to kind of see this wildly enthusiastic Chase Sexton, and that's not what I encountered.
Same trainer as he had last year, same mechanic, same program. His dad's involved here, right, heavily with it. So Chase has tried to keep everything the same from his championship year outside of a bike. So that, I think, is going to help him.
I'm glad you bring that up. I feel like in normal years we would make a huge point out of Sexton not going with Aldon Baker. It doesn't seem like such a big deal. You've always been a big Aldon Baker proponent. Is that a red flag for you at all, that he's sticking with Peter Park, his trainer he's been with for years? Are you worried, oh, what's up with this? He didn't go with Aldon.
I'm not worried. I think he feels very confident and comfortable in his program. I think there's a chance that it gets dicey if he doesn't come out and perform early, like the first 6 or 8 races, right? If we're leaving February and things aren't going real well, I wonder if the same conversation that Cooper Webb had with KTM management will happen again, where they're like, hey, we kind of think you need to go to Florida and get on this program. So there's a little bit of pressure there. I have no idea how his deal is structured. Maybe he put that in his deal, like, you don't get to tell me where I train. I don't know. But I could certainly see that being a conversation piece if things aren't going really well early.
Yeah, and he'll be riding at Moto Sandbox with Ken Roxon, and he picked up Tom Viel and Levi Kitchen, who's a Monster Pro Circuit Kawasaki rider.
Chiz.
Oh, Chiz is just everywhere.
Yeah.
There's probably 12 guys that ride with Chiz. So that'll be their riding and training group. All right, shout out to our sponsors again, Monster Energy, Maxxis, Maxima, and Fly. Let's move to the next rider. This is probably going to rankle a handful of people who feel that this rider is overexposed, talked about too much. I usually qualify all rookies and say, like, hey, the goal of any 450 Supercross rookie is just get through the races, get through 17 rounds, don't get hurt. I don't think we grade Jett Lawrence on that scale. Not after 22-0. He's already raced a 450 a ton. He beat everybody straight up in LA, as far as I'm concerned. He passed Sexton in the first moto. That would have won, even if Sexton doesn't crash in that final moto. Jett's going to win the overall and the SMX title. So I'm putting Jett Lawrence in show 1. Sorry, everybody. You say you might have the least questions?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, when you look at the riders that we're talking about, race winners and potential champions, yeah, I have probably the least amount of questions about Jett Lawrence. So we've seen it, 22-0, SMX championship. I mean, you guys on TV are going to start rookie. I mean, I'm not going to really go with that. Like, the guy's got a half a year on a 450 against all of these dudes. I'm throwing away the rookie thing. So, yeah, I don't – he's on the same bike. He's on the same program. Like, he is going to be really, really good. Will he make some rookie mistakes? Yes. Was his 250 Supercross titles not quite as dominant as his outdoors? Yes, which may tell you that Supercross is a tad worse for Jett.
Yeah,
than,
like an A versus
motocross.
an A+.
Yeah. But so, you know, there's going to be some mistakes and all of that. But, yeah, I mean, Jett Lawrence is the real deal. I mean, if you think he's going to not win races and being a championship contender, then I don't think you're really following the sport very much.
Yeah. Again, most rookies, I'm like, nah, we got to wait a year or two. I don't think we're at that stage.
No, I mean, his rookie motocross season certainly wasn't very rookie-like.
No.
He looked mature. He didn't ever look like the moment was too big for him. Really, the only question that I had the entire 2023 calendar year was at Charlotte. He looked a little uncomfortable. He looked like very unsure of how to set his motorcycle up for that type of racetrack, and he got pushed around at times in certain motos that they had going on there. So that's what I'll be looking for, is can he figure out how to set the 450 up early on. If the track's weird, because A1's always just a little funky. Like, you hear guys complaining about their motorcycles more at A1 than most races. If he's not comfortable and he has that, uncharacteristic struggle in qualifying sessions like he did at Charlotte, can he figure it out? Can they find a comfortable place in the motorcycle? Can he get a good start to kind of stay out of that trouble? Because I think there are riders, think of Justin Barshie, think of Jason Anderson, if they see him floundering around in like 7th or 8th on the first, second, third lap, they're going to take advantage of that, right? They're going to try to get in and get aggressive with him, because he's beat up on these guys for a long time. Like, he embarrassed everybody all summer long, and I don't think those guys took very kindly to it. So if they get a chance to run it in on him, they're going to do that, just like they did at Charlotte. So that's my only concern. If he doesn't look like that guy, he comes out and qualifies fast and gets good starts, good luck to everybody else. I think that's their only chance, is to get in and make him uncomfortable.
Later on in the shows, we will ask Keefer in episode 3 about the factory Honda, because Keefer's the only guy I know as a media guy who's ridden Jett's bike.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the only.
That's weird, because
only guy.
I thought I rode it at Shugo, but maybe not. Yeah.
Okay, so by the way, you used to have a golden rule. You used to say punch you if you used 450 motocross as a guide to 450 supercross. Again, same thing with rookie. Does that not count for Jett?
No, it doesn't, because it's experience, right? It's experience.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Yes, in years past, Dylan Ferrandis, Zach Osborne, right?
Yes.
So Jett's a different deal. I
Okay.
mean, Jett's won the Supercross title in 250s a few years in a row.
Yeah.
We're fine. SMX, I think, also, although SMX is not Supercross and was not Supercross.
No. That final round was not far off.
Not far off, and he looked pretty good quadding onto that tabletop.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we're all set with Jett and how good he's going to be.
The only thing we haven't seen him is Supercross whoops besides Paris. You can ask Hunter how fast he was going in those whoops.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any chance that, oh my God, he can't do whoops? Any chance?
No, there's no chance that he doesn't know how to do whoops. I think the only thing is if you see him come out in the untimed sessions, as I mentioned, and he just doesn't look quite right, that's the real concern, because that's the only time I've ever seen it. I saw it early on at Charlotte.
Yeah.
He never figured it out. He never quite looked right, and they did figure it out as it went on.
Charlotte was Supercross and motocross, like breaking bumps. Like,
I understand.
But they solved it in 7 days.
I understand. I'm just telling you that's the only time I've ever seen Jett not look right. And if that shows up again, maybe there's something to it, but otherwise, Godspeed.
Your biggest question is Sexton adapting to the KTM. My biggest question is, what level is Jett on? I think we expect him to obviously be at the elite level and a guy that can win. But I think you've got to leave the door open for, could he be dominant?
Like, when you say dominant, do you mean 10 out of 17?
Yeah, could he be that good?
Right.
I don't think it's ridiculous. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I think we have to think there is a chance that he's just that good.
I agree with you.
Even as a rookie.
There is a chance he comes out and rips off 10 wins and wins the championship going away.
And we're like, we're in for a long ride, McGrath style here.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, one more rider to talk about, and the reason I made him last is because I have the least amount of questions, believe it or not, about Eli Tomac. I know that seems weird because he's coming back from an Achilles. I'm not worried about that at all. I think he's a veteran. I think he knows how to manage the 17 rounds better than anyone. I believe we get 2023 Eli Tomac back exactly the same in 2024 on the Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing. Progressive, I think, backs them as well. Are you worried about Tomac? You think there's any residual to the big injury?
I think there's question marks with Tomac. Yes, I do, because he's a year older and he's coming off a pretty serious injury.
Yeah.
And, he's looking back at things and probably doesn't want to go through that again.
Yeah.
We saw this is maybe taking the wrong way, a slower, smarter Eli Tomac last year. Now, it almost got him a Supercross title, and you could argue he should have won it, and that's fine. But he wasn't, crazy Eli Tomac. He wasn't beast mode. He often didn't jump all the big rhythms if he knew that they wouldn't be come and play later on.
Yep.
He took his wins when they were there. He took his podiums. It was not like, holy crap, 3 seconds a lap faster, Eli Tomac. So is that guy gone? I tend to think so. I think he's entering that veteran stage now. So I have some question marks from Eli for sure.
I only have questions early on because I think it's really challenging to take that much time off and then jump back into racing and have the intensity that he is known for, right? If you think about what he was at Anaheim 1, running away, crashing, coming back and still winning, that's a really difficult level to find, and it usually takes momentum to get there, right? That's a building process to get there. So speaking with him at the meetings we had in December, that was one of the questions I had is what does success in January look like for you, right? And I thought he was pretty realistic. He basically just said being within kind of earshot of the championship, right? I don't have to have the red plate, but leaving January, as long as the championship's kind of right there, I feel like then I'm in a good place. Because if you go back historically and look at Eli's results, until he got on the Yamaha, January was not a good month for him. It was far and away the worst month of the year, results-wise, and then he really turned it around, I think, due to starts, and he just looked like happier and better on the Yamaha. So I think he knows that. I'm sure it's something that they've talked about. So watch those early rounds. I'm not saying he has to win, but if you see him getting a podium, like he gets second, third, fourth, that's a really, really good sign for the championship, in my opinion.
Well, one thing for sure, I mean, I think we can almost bank on is don't bank on Anaheim 1 results. Just don't.
For anybody.
Yeah, for anybody. Yeah, for anybody.
Like Keefer thinks it's game on if Jett wins Anaheim 1, but I don't count it for anybody, dude.
Yeah,
the opener's nuts.
It is nuts. Things go weird, nerves.
Yeah.
All the new stuff going on.
I just think it's important for him to be kind of relevant early, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying he has to win, but if you see him running around the front,
he's going to be relevant. He's Eli Tomac.
Not always. Sometimes he has really bad A1s. Like hasn't always done well early on.
I could think of Jeff Emig in 98, as coming out of the opener and being like,
I'm not saying he's going to get 14th.
Who's this dude? Right.
I'm saying I want to see him showing race pace, being able to run up front, and that will be a very, very positive sign for what the rest of the season will be. Okay, fair enough. Okay,
he really did become the season manager last year. It was I love the evolution when young Tomac had all the speed going against Dungey, who didn't have that edge, but Dungey's like, I'm just gonna. Hopefully the math will work out in my favor.
I mean, Dunge backed himself into one hell of a Supercross title one year. I mean, all full props to him. It's one of the but it was one of the great game managing titles.
And I feel like that's what Eli used after that crash at the Triple Crown. I feel at Anaheim, I don't think you saw that last 2-3% after that. And he was great at having bad races and just showing up at the next one.
Tampa was the ultimate for that.
Yep.
No panic, no worry. And Hunter Lawrence made comments about that and said, we learned a lot by watching Eli's demeanor when he had a really bad race in Tampa, shook it off, came back, and still, very likely would have been your champion. So I don't know if we're going to get those what we would have called weirdo Eli races in the past, like that 11th or 12th he got at Dallas that one year. Like there have been some weirdo Eli races. But I haven't really seen that on the Yamaha so much. Like a sixth is not, world-ending, but it was still a little strange.
But it is scary to me that the Lawrence brothers, like Jett especially, saying, I've already figured out that could be a weakness that Tomac could exploit. I'll have a bad race and then start throwing points away. They're already like, no, we're going to make sure that we're good at that too, which is one of Tomac's, I think, big assets. He's been through this process so many times.
And also, too, as you get older and as I get older and Eli gets older, and I honestly was thinking his career was over and he wouldn't come back. His legacy secured. It's a bad injury, et cetera, et cetera. Stoked he's back, man. And, he seems like he's in a good mood and it seems like he's ready to go. And win or lose, it's cool to have Eli Tomac back for another year. I really like that.
Can you imagine what that crowd is going to be like at Anaheim 1 when he comes out for opening ceremonies? It's going to be electric that he's back. Because we haven't seen him in that type of public setting.
Think about what Denver's going to be like if he's in the championship fight coming down to the second to last round. Those people are going to be nuts. And, A1's going to be crazy in general. But, you wonder what going through his mind, too, right? Like, he had to be devastated losing that title. So much rehab and coming back, going back into that arena for A1. It's gonna be amazing. And I truly don't know what to expect. If he ran away with it, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't. I don't expect that. I think it's going to be a little bit of a slower start than Steve does, but we'll see.
That's what it's all about. We got the matchup we wanted. We wanted to see Lawrence brothers and other guys moving up and still get the chance to race Tomac.
Deepest field ever.
We say it every year. I'm not sure. This is a pretty elite trio here at the top. It's going to be hard to get to a lot of winners, I think, this year, as it is every year. All right, let's make not championship picks, but let's make a couple of picks. My segment, as always, is the Maxxis Rubber Meets the Road. So, Steve, thanks for giving me one of your It's an e-bike.
So, yeah,
tire.
it's a Minion.
Maxxis
It's really good
Minion.
for the desert life out here.
Yeah, that was treacherous. The tires did the best they could on this tractionless dirt you have out here. Maxxis rubber meets the road. Who has to really deliver? Who has to get it done? I think it's obvious. It's Chase Sexton. You know, this is the move he wanted to make. He made the move. Honda wanted to keep him. He could have stayed. There was something about a different team, different personnel, different bike. So it's not going to be easy to win the Supercross title. The standard is set there. That's what's going to make it difficult. So he's put himself into a really difficult position. If he's not fast, if he's not champ at the end of the year, even second, it's going to make some people, I think, question that move. So pressure's on him. That's my Maxxis rubber meets the road. Now, Steve, let's fog this place up.
Yeah,
Matthes in a cannon.
Love SC1 from Maxima. It saved my life as a mechanic many times when I was a top mechanic and I didn't want to work on my bike. I just sprayed this on, and they all thought I worked on my bike. Joke's on you, Jim Perry. But honestly, I got question marks about Chase, question marks about Eli. I got no question marks about Jett Lawrence, shining on Jett Lawrence, because I'm telling you, people, I don't know if he's winning the championship. He's winning multiple races, and he's going all the way down to the wire, and there's no doubt in my mind.
Wow. Okay. JT, who's going to fly with Fly Racing?
I have to go with the same answer. Jett Lawrence, every time I watch him ride, he does something to impress me, something different to impress me, whether it's mental, his race management, his skill set. And I go back to the first time I watched him ride the 450 at Fox Raceway last summer. His qualifying lap, I still go back sometimes when I'm bored and watch that lap because it's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. I think we're going to get a lot of that in 2024 from him, and I just think he's going to make us say wow several times throughout, race day live, throughout practice, throughout the season. So it's got to be Jett.
Oh boy. Okay. It's going to be wild. Okay. Thanks again to our sponsors, Fly, Maxxis, Maxima, and Monster Energy. This is just show 1. We'll be back with show 2. Sorry. Cooper Webb, Jason Anderson, they got demoted.
Unbelievable.
To show 2. You wanted me to put 12 guys in one show. You're like a participation trophy guy. You just want everybody to be happy.
Cooper Webb's the second winningest active rider right now. And show 2?
All right, we'll put 12 guys in show 1, and then we just won't have a show 2. We'll make everybody happy.
Show 2 for the 2.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll dissect that. Another big team switch coming up, and maybe a rebound for Jason Anderson and a lot of other talent to discuss. This is just episode 1. Go to supermotocross.com for the full schedule and all the information on the races of the 31-round Super Motocross World Championship and Monster Energy AMA Supercross. Thanks for watching.